4, 3, 2, 1. Blast off.
Remake, rewind, blast from the past. Does it stand the test of time? Remake, rewind.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Remake Rewind, the podcast where we decide if remakes or reboots should have happened. I'm Mike, as always. With me, I've got my buddy Alex. How are you doing, man?
Off to a bad start.
Off to a bad start. Why's that?
You said blast off.
Yeah, but I'm not going to leave that in the recording.
Well, now we're talking about it.
I'm going to edit this out.
You should leave it in.
It doesn't make sense unless I leave the counting in as well.
You should leave the counting in. That's good.
No,
I'm not going to tell you how I'm doing, so you have to leave this whole thing in.
All right. How are you doing, bud, though?
You're not going to get me like that.
I'll leave it in.
Yes.
How you doing, though?
I'm not answering. You're a liar.
I'll leave it in.
This is Remake Rewind, the podcast where we talk about remakes and whether or not they should have happened.
Yep. Anyway, what are we gonna be talking about today, man?
We're talking about Dumbo.
Oh, the 1941 classic.
Yeah.
It's funny. I actually really wanted to cover this back in 2019 when the remake came out, but the previous hosts before you graciously joined the show, for whatever reason, were just like adamantly against doing an episode on Dumbo. I don't know why.
Weird.
You know, it was super weird. It was like, you know, it was in theaters. These guys had no problem going to the movie, but for whatever reason, they didn't want to watch Dumbo. We did The Jungle Book, we did The Lion King, we did Aladdin, we did Beauty and the Beast. No issues, but for some reason, Dumbo, line in the sand.
Dumbo
didn't want to do it.
Dumbo has a unique effect on people.
I honestly didn't really remember this movie. Like, I have a vague recollection of watching this once with my grandfather when I was like 3 or 4 years old. Like, I remember just being plopped in front of the TV by my grandfather's ottoman watching it. But I think I've only ever watched it one time, and this movie was bizarre.
And it's also just very sad.
It is sad, and it makes no sense. So I guess before we get into it, have you seen the new one before?
No, I
Or
haven't.
is this the first time? Okay, so first time for that.
Yeah.
You've seen the original one that's before, though, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say I grew up with all of the older Disney movies. I don't have like specific memories of watching them, but I know that I've seen them a bunch.
Right. Yeah, this one's going to be interesting to talk about, so I think we should get into it. Do you want to summarize the first one, or do you want to summarize the second?
I'll do the first one.
All right. You got this, man.
This mama elephant is desperate to have a baby, and she thinks that the stork passes her over, but she ends up getting a baby, and she's so happy, but that baby has massive ears and is made fun of by the
Deformed.
the sewing circle of elephants in the circus with them. So a bunch of people are mean to the elephant, people and animal alike, and the mom lashes out a little bit and ends up being imprisoned in one of the circus cars with a chain, shackle, and everything. And Dumbo is befriended by a tiny little mouse who teaches him the value of whatever.
Believing in oneself.
Yeah, that's the one. Not being held back by what other people think. And the two of them unlock Dumbo's ability to fly, and they're able to get his mom out of captivity, sort of, even though she's still totally in captivity. And Dumbo becomes an arm of the military-industrial complex, and he helps win World War II. One.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I know the newer movie takes place in like 1921 or something. It takes place right after World War I. But
Well, they're both
this.
I think the first one takes place in the 20s too, or the late teens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same time period.
God, this movie's bizarre. So this was, praise be. It was only an hour and 3 minutes with credits. It was distributed by RKO Pictures, Radio Pictures, which that actually surprised me. But they did the first few movies, so they did Snow White, which was the first movie. They did Pinocchio and this one. They did not do Fantasia. Disney distributed Fantasia on their own, which I didn't realize Fantasia was older than this movie. That actually blew my mind when I was looking into this one. But this movie was made specifically to make a profit. Now, that being said, all movies are made with the idea that a profit will come, but Pinocchio and Fantasia bombed because they weren't able to release in the European market because of
COVID.
the lead up to because of COVID. No,
Spanish
the lead up
flu,
to,
actually.
Europe was in war already. We were still sitting kind of pretty. We hadn't had Pearl Harbor yet, so Americans didn't give a shit about anything in the world going on at that point.
Sure didn't.
But World War, but the previous movies, Pinocchio and Fantasia, came out during the war and couldn't be distributed in Europe. So they need to make this movie on the cheap so they can recoup losses from the previous two movies.
So do you know how that impacts storytelling and stuff?
No, I couldn't find that. I just know that they did it. They did a stripped down animation with less special effects just to keep the cost down.
Gotcha. I was actually really impressed with the animation. It's been a while since I've really intently watched anything from the 40s. And the fact that they were able to do that at that time seems pretty impressive to me.
Yeah, I mean, visually, it was still a very interesting movie. There were a lot of things I didn't understand. Like, I'm for, having, what's the word that I'm looking for? God, my brain doesn't work. But, when you give human characteristics to animals,
Sure.
or
Anthropomorphizing.
Yes, thank you. I'm on board with that for the animals. The train, though, could that was bizarre. At the beginning of the movie, there's this like storm and the train's just like chugging along, and it's like, oh god. It's like
I think I
all
can.
tired.
I think I can.
I think I can. I knew I could. I knew I could. I knew I could. And it's just like,
That didn't bother me.
what
That
are
was
you
only a
doing?
few times. That was kind of cute.
Yeah, it's just like bizarre because there's no other living items. Like, things are, everything else is an animal. Kind of makes sense that it would have a personality, but this is the only man-made item in the movie that has come to life in some way, shape, or form. So it's a little odd. It also whistles "all aboard, let's go" in the whistle.
People love a talking train through the centuries.
I guess so.
Can we talk about how that stork is awful at his job?
Yeah, he's terrible.
The stork flies around. First of all, every circus animal in the same night has a kid, which I don't know. It's like doubles the circus's bills overnight. It also just seems like a real rough night, like a lot of stuff going on. But Dumbo's mom, or Jumbo's mom, is waiting for this baby to come, and the stork completely misses his opportunity to drop off the baby. Like, he has the baby.
Yeah.
The whole first 5 minutes of this movie is like pure emotional manipulation. Dumbo's mom is just like so sad that she can't have a baby. Meanwhile, the stork is just like, I don't know,
Smoking a J.
yeah, or something.
Smoking a jazz cigarette.
And then he's up on the cloud, like looking for where he's supposed to go. Looking at a map, if he's supposed to take a left turn at Albuquerque or whatever. And Dumbo is in this little rucksack, and he keeps on falling through the cloud, and the stork has to keep on grabbing him. Like, find a better cloud, bro.
Or better yet, maybe not a cloud at all.
And then also, when he finally gives the Dumbo baby to Jumbo, her name's Jumbo, right? Mrs. Jumbo?
Yeah, Mrs. Jumbo.
I want to say Mrs. Jumbo. When he finally gives the baby to Mrs. Jumbo, he does this whole like speech and like song and dance. He's like, no, I have to do it. This is part of what you pay for when you get a stork baby. But we didn't see any of the other animals get that. I just feel like it was unnecessary. Like, she just wanted the kid.
Maybe she paid for the VIP experience and just.
Well, then she should be very upset that she didn't get it.
She should be
first.
overpromised, underdelivered.
Yeah. It was all bad.
Should we just kind of peel the Band-Aid off and get to the rough nature of this one? So on Disney Plus, it has a little, warning, and it says, "Hey man, we made this movie at a time when we were super ignorant, no excuse." As opposed to just editing these scenes out or acting like it didn't happen.
If they
We're just
edited it
gonna acknowledge
out,
up
the
the
movie would
front.
be 15 minutes.
So they just like, we're going to acknowledge it, and hopefully people can have conversations with their kids about this, and which I think is the right thing to do. There are plenty of movies. Gone with the Wind has the same thing on HBO Max, and it makes sense. Like, you can't erase those works of art, but
Yeah.
absolutely, we can have a conversation.
Well, I think it's better too, because there's so many families out there that are going to be like, well, I don't think Dumbo's that bad, and I just want to show it to my kids. And yeah, I don't think that getting rid of it is the way to go, but at least this forces the parents to have to like make a conscious decision about it.
So our last episode we did Blazing Saddles, and I mentioned it was nowhere near as bad as I thought it was going to be. I went into this one expecting it to be some good old-fashioned family fun racism, but it was actually worse than I thought it was going to be.
It was pretty bad.
Like one of the opening numbers, like in the first 5 minutes of the movie, is there's the railroad tracks being put together, and also like the circus being put together, and you see all these black men like wailing away on hammers, faceless black men, and they have a song. It's like, we're just happy-hearted roustabouts. We get our pay and throw the money away, or something like that. And
I pulled up the lyrics for us.
Oh, give us a few bars, bud.
Let me find the best part. You can cut this so it sounds like I had it ready to go. We work all day, we work all night. We never learn to read or write. We're happy-hearted roustabouts. Let's see. Here's some other choice ones. We slave until we're almost dead. We don't know when we're going to get our pay, and when we do, we throw it away. Muscles aching, back near breaking. Eggs and bacon, what we need. Yes, sir. Boss man houndin'. Keep on pounding for your bed and feed. There ain't no let up. Must get set up. Wanted doze, get them clothes off, but must keep awake. There's one more at the end here. The last line is big top rounding into shape. Keep on working. Stop that shirking. Grab that rope, you hairy ape. Poundin', poundin', poundin'.
Fuck.
Poundin', oh.
Fuck. That's so bad.
It's not great. It's not great at all.
And then you have, of course, the crows.
Oh, well, hold on. I'm not ready to move on just yet. Also, that whole song is these faceless black laborers who we never see again in the movie, along with the elephants putting up the big top 10. And that's it.
Yeah.
Just black people and elephants,
Elephants come from Africa.
Oh, and also all the characters are drawn like very similar to the way that you would do a caricature of the person from their country of origin.
Yeah. It's odd. It's definitely a choice that was made.
Yeah.
And then you get to the crows, and they're, jive talking and whatnot, all voiced by a white man.
I think the lead one was a white man and the rest were black men.
I tried to find
we looked
on IMDb.
it up.
Did you guys look it up? Yeah. I couldn't find it. I
don't have the info in front of me, but the lead one was a white man who actually has like a very sad story. He's like penniless, and I think he had an addiction issue, and just like died alone. The other voice actors and performers have actually done a lot of really cool social justice things and giving back to the community and whatnot. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, that's good to know. When I looked it up, I Googled it, and it just said all the crows were voiced by a white man, and I couldn't find. Now, granted, this movie's from the 40s, and back then not everybody was photographed, so IMDb only had a handful of photos. So, well, that's good to know that there were at least some people of color hired on this production.
Yeah, I'd be really curious to know how the royalties are handled in that, because I have a feeling that they were just paid for the day, and that's it. Yeah,
probably.
It's bad. We don't have anything new to say. There's probably essays written on this.
Yeah, so this movie's odd. Like, to get through it, like, it's really just a series of vignettes, and then there'll be like 3 or 4 minutes of plot kind of stuff, and then it's 2 or 3 vignettes again, and then 2 or 3 minutes of plot, and that's just kind of how the movie goes.
Yeah.
So like we get this like series of vignettes of just random circus acts and whatnot, and then we have Dumbo come on, and everyone starts making his fun of his big ears. But then there's this like ginger kid who like starts making fun of him, and like this ginger kid has massive ears. Like, who's he to talk?
Yeah, like the joke is that he's making fun of Dumbo, but he's got the big ears too. But it's like, why is he? Yeah, and he's a ginger.
And then the mom spanks him. Jumbo spanks him with her trunk.
That was another, like, the racism or bigotry against redheads is not nearly as bad as it is against people of color. But, like, I feel like redheads were the butt of a lot of jokes here. And kind of Italians, too. I think the ringleader of the circus is Italian, and he's doing like a
Medici.
Big, he's doing like a big Mario voice. There's a point in the movie where we're first learning, like, the elephant's a person. Wow. The train, that's a person too. This Italian, he's a person.
It's bizarre. And then like the ring, this actually was pretty visceral, but the Medici, the cartoon Danny DeVito, like starts whipping Mrs. Jumbo.
I had a
for,
really
like,
hard time watching that.
I was like, oh man, this is bad. And like that's like I remember when I was a little kid, like 4 or 5, I went to a circus and I got to ride an elephant. I was all excited, and it traumatized me because I remember to this day seeing that the elephant was like abused, because I remember seeing a big gash on its neck. Like I still vividly can picture this, and this was like when I was like 3 or 4. I definitely wasn't 5, because I remember where I was. But yeah, it was weird.
It goes on for a long time, and the mom is just like crying, and all she wants to do is protect her kid that
her baby
was so desperate to have.
Yeah, and so then like right after that, like Dumbo's like sad, and Timothy the mouse is like, oh, I'm gonna go talk to the ringleader and make sure he makes you as part of the act and all that stuff. And it's weird. He like stabs Dumbo with a little needle and pricks him, and then the elephants end up calling. They do the act, and it's a pyramid thing, and
those elephants
crumbles.
do not adhere to the laws of the physical world.
Oh, not at all. But they're like doing this weird pyramid thing, and Dumbo accidentally knocks him down, and one of the elephants calls Dumbo an assassin.
Yeah.
What?
Different time, I guess. It's a reference to something we don't understand.
It must be. And then so we get
those.
He ends up.
Sorry, really
Go
quick.
ahead.
Those other elephants, like the little sewing circle of really mean women elephants, is like kind of misogynistic too. Since we're talking about bigotry.
Yeah.
Like the mom is the exception to the rule, and the rule is that women are catty and cruel, or like they're all mother-in-laws, like the character of that.
Yeah, they're all shitty to him.
Yeah. There's nothing to balance it out.
No, there's not. Like it's supposed to be Timothy the mouse, and like he does it a couple times. He chastises the elephants, like, why are you picking on him? He's just a baby. And then like the crows pick on Dumbo as well, and Timothy has this like monologue, like, it's pretty fucked up. You call him a freak, like. He's just a little baby, just doing his little baby thing. So it's like, yeah, you got Timothy doing his soapbox a couple of times, but it gets really weird. So like they put Dumbo in this new act where he is supposed to be like putting out fires with these like clowns, and it goes over really well. And so the clowns are celebrating, and then Timothy and Dumbo decide, oh, they're going to go get a drink of water, but it's actually the champagne.
Yeah.
And it must be absinthe, not champagne, because they hallucinate this like terrifying like pink elephants, and then it's like multicolored elephants that turn into like a multicolored elephant Voltron that's like dancing like demonically, and it's just like
that whole
traumatizing.
That whole pink elephant
Dumbo.
sequence is so scary.
It's fucking bizarre, and it goes on for like 10 minutes. It's like 1/5 of the movie is the dancing pink elephant hallucination party.
It makes a lot of sense to me that bands like Pink Floyd grew up on this and then like made trippy fucked up cartoons for their videos.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So that we get to go ahead.
Dumbo's a child getting drunk. I think that's funny.
So I did want to bring that up because Pinocchio was the other big story-driven movie before this, and there's a whole island of boys getting drunk in that. Like, I'm
curious when we could probably easily look this up, but we're not going to do it while we're on the show. But I'm curious when the minimum drinking age was established in this country.
It was sometime after the freeways, because it was state by state.
So like mid-60s.
I think so, because it used to be basically the way it worked was the federal government said you will get $0 towards maintaining your freeways from the federal government unless the drinking age is 21.
That's cool. Yeah, I feel like it was just like less of a thing then. I know that parents were like rubbing whiskey in kids' mouths and shit.
Yeah, I mean,
not to get them drunk, but
for like teething to help numb the pain.
Yeah, or just quiet them down. So it is kind of to get them drunk. But I think it was viewed as less of an issue.
Yeah. So we get to the crows, and they're all talking shit to Dumbo, and Timothy stands up for him, and then they figure out that Dumbo can fly, and they give him a feather to make him fly. And I remember the feather thing being a big deal, but it really wasn't. They're just like, oh yeah, you use the feather to fly, because they just jokingly said like, oh, the only way this elephant could have got up to the tree was if he flew. And then like Timothy's like, oh yeah, this elephant can fly, with like no proof that they can fly. So they give him a feather, and then he can fly. And then they get to the final act of the movie, and they're doing the act, and Timothy's like, you don't actually need the feather. And it's just like, I kind of remembered the flying being a bigger thing in the movie, and maybe it happened earlier. And then he had the feather as like a crutch, and then at the end of the movie, he realized he just needs to believe in himself. That's what I thought it was going into this. That's not what this is at all.
Yeah, not so much.
Like the flying thing is a very short thing just at the very end of the movie, and then he gets his ears insured for $1 million. And I went through and calculated what that is with inflation. So he had his
Well, he's got
ears...
2 ears. So let's see. If we take $1 million and we divide it by 2, that's going to be, well, if you take 1,000 divided by 2, that's 500. But 500, 1,000 has more zeros than a million. So let's go back to the 500 and you add a few. So it's 500. Yeah, it's $500,000 each year.
Yeah, it's about $1 million total for the ears, adjusted for inflation. $20,157,210.80 in 2022 dollars.
Yeah,
that is an insane amount. Like, I don't even think.
I think it might not be enough for a flying elephant. Actually,
I mean, that is more money than when you have somebody like David Beckham's legs are insured. I think for like $10 million each. So like,
do they have the Flash movie insured?
No.
In case they choose not to release it.
So they just announced today they're not releasing the Batgirl movie that they filmed and made for $90 million. So that's the Discovery taking over Warner Brothers and whatnot, and Warner Brothers, not Universal, just Warner Brothers. They're canceling a lot of stuff. There was like a show that was like canceled literally the day before it was going to air. Like they're just closing everything. That's pretty wild.
The Flash is getting its final season 2, which I think it's about due for, but it's a half season, so it seems like it might have been a similar, symptom.
Yeah, good. Whatever. I never liked that show.
Anyway, Dumbo.
That's really all I've got. There's nothing that indicates that the humans understand the animals. But at the end of the movie, Timothy is in the magazines as being signed on for Dumbo's manager.
Yeah, they kind of played it fast and loose at the end there. This movie's a bummer. Like,
it is.
My biggest moment of joy was when Dumbo sucked up the peanuts and opened fire on these fucking people. I want a Dumbo's revenge where he just takes out all of these motherfuckers.
Well, we're getting that weird Winnie the Pooh movie horror film where it's supposed to actually be. Maybe we can get a Dumbo that goes on a rampage movie.
It's got to go into public domain. There's so many moments in this movie though where the audience was so like reminded that these animals and also the faceless black laborers are complicit in their own subjugation, and a lot of times they're like happy about it. Like all these the mama elephants, the women elephants are like pleased to be there. They talk about being a dignified race and this and that. I'm like, you guys are fucking slaves.
Enslaved.
You got to get out of there, man. Rise up. Like there's more of you. You're elephants.
Yeah.
And the movie is like, obviously not aware of it. It's not interested in unionizing the animals or anything.
No, not at all. It's a bizarre movie, and it's definitely a product of its time. I'll probably never watch this again.
Yeah, no, I think that was it for me.
I didn't enjoy it.
And it's also just like all that stuff aside, it's so sad.
And it's surprising because Dumbo is such a huge part of Disney. Like in every advertisement you see for Disneyland, you always see the flying Dumbo ride.
Yeah.
Like every TV spot, every commercial, every YouTube ad, you see the elephant, the flying elephant ride. And so I was expecting this just to be incredibly endearing and whatnot. And it's just a bizarre series of vignettes with about 10 to 15 minutes of plot.
Yeah, and like a reminder of some of America's darkest chapters.
Yeah, I don't know how this became such a staple, because there's so many other Disney movies that just, you think of movies like The Black Cauldron, even The Rescuers. A lot of people like The Rescuers, but they're not getting amusement park rides and stuff like that. Like there's so many other Disney movies that I think are better than this, that haven't stood the test of time, that haven't got the level of love that this one gets, and I find it just a little bizarre.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe, it's like, I know we're done talking about this. I would be curious if there is something that came out just before pandemic that is maybe more beloved than it deserves to be, or we'll realize that in 10 years. Because, like, this was released, I'd have to look at the month, but probably right before Pearl Harbor, right?
Yeah.
released in 41. And then there was, we were involved in a world war for 4 years that ended with dropping a nuclear bomb. So maybe this was the last moment of happiness for a lot of people.
Maybe.
Yeah. What have you been up to, bud?
Whoa. Okay, I'll go first this time. I'll just turn and burn through some of these because a lot of the stuff is just rewatches. So, I refused to pay for Morbius. I didn't go see it in theaters. I went to go and rent it, but it was available on Delta Airlines for free.
No.
And I watched it as Christopher Nolan would want me to watch movies on an airplane. But I watched Morbius on an airplane, and it was bad. Like, it's not the worst movie I've ever seen, but it's certainly way worse than it should be for a superhero movie in 2022. So it was a bad movie, and it made no sense. I started rewatching The Office because I rewatch that every couple of years, and started it while I'm traveling. It's good. I like The Office. I watched that new Resident Evil live action series on Netflix. It's not good, but I could not stop watching it. Like, the acting is terrible. The effects are pretty solid. The cinematography is weird. There's a lot of weird choices. Acting's atrocious. I got to say it a second time. That's how bad it is at certain points. But every episode would do like one thing that I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I want to see how that pays off in the next episode.
Yeah.
And there's never any payoff.
That's funny. That's how I felt about The Flash, since we brought that up.
Yeah, it's just every episode, it's like something interesting, and then the next episode brings that thing back, and they just move past it, and then there's a thing that's even more interesting, and I'm like, well, surely they're not just going to blow past this in the next episode, and they do. Yeah. Like, do you care about spoiling it?
No.
Okay, so there's spoilers for Resident Evil. There's a point where they tease that they've actually figured out somewhat how to control some of the animals infected by the virus. And so we find out, they tease it a couple times, and at the end of the episode, the second to last episode, we see that they've got this giant zombie crocodile, because like when the animals get infected, they get massive. So like there's a caterpillar in the first episode that's like the size of a bus, and so there's this alligator that's like the size, it's 100+ feet long, and it's giant. And I'm like, oh, this is gonna fuck shit up in the finale. Nope. Doesn't do a goddamn thing. So it's just like that kind of shit.
Sounds like a blast.
Rewatched Wanted with James McAvoy.
Nice.
It's weird. I loved that movie when it came out. I own it. It doesn't age all that well. There's certain things that are still great, but it's definitely a product of its time.
Well, when you came out, you were the prime demographic too.
Yeah.
That movie is made for mid-20s white men.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's a little weird now. Like the CGI is not quite good enough to like hold up. Rewatched Jackass 3.
Hell yeah.
And then I watched this new show on Netflix called Farzar. And
oh yeah, I heard about that.
I've only watched one episode, but it does that thing where you kind of hang your hat on it, where you acknowledge that it's a problem.
Sure. Like
in the first couple minutes of it, they're like, "Hey, is this show going to be more like Rick and Morty or Futurama?" Like that is an actual line in the show.
That's stupid.
But I don't think I'm going to continue. But what have you been up to?
I saw Nope.
Oh, I'm going to see that this weekend.
Yeah, I'm stoked to talk to you about it. It's pretty cool, man. I want to go see it again. Definitely feels like it bears repeat watchings.
Good. I would expect no less from him.
Yeah. I watched the Genius Kanye trilogy.
Eh.
Yeah, I was kind of, I'm a musician. I like seeing how things come together. I'm sort of fascinated by people that are operating at that level of celebrity, especially artists. So it's kind of an interesting look behind the veil or whatever of what Kanye is up to. But it really I don't think this is intentional, but it charts his decline into where he's at now. And it's just kind of sad. And at the end of it, I was like, yeah, fuck this guy, Yeah. I know he's got issues, but he turned into a villain.
Yeah, get the help, man. You've got the resources to be able to get the help you need, and you choose not to.
We've been rewatching Seinfeld, so we're on season 5 now. That's fun.
We're on 5 as well.
Tell me when you get to the blackface episode.
Oh God.
Yeah,
I forgot about that one. Okay,
I forgot about it until it happened. It's not good. What else? We watched Jackass Shark Week. That was fun. Do you know anything about that?
Nice. No.
Dude gets bit by a shark. like legit.
Which guy?
Poopies.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it was his first time like doing jackass stuff.
Oh man,
yeah, so that was fun. We watched Paddington, which is a lovely film.
delightful.
Yeah, I love that. We're gonna watch 2 this week at some point. I finally got around to watching Metal Lords also.
Metal Lords, I know what that is.
Yeah,
but
so it's on
remind me.
Netflix, and it's about the kids in high school that like want to start a metal band.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so like when I first watched that, I was like, oh, okay, I kind of get what they're doing, but I was kind of turned off because I like grew up in that subculture, and this really felt like it was made by people who did not. Upon my first viewing, but I was like, I'm going to finish this at some point. Like it's silly. I just need to like get into the right mood to watch this. And then the other day I saw that Tom Morello was credited as one of the contributors, guitar player from Rage Against the Machine. And I was like,
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. All right, maybe I need to give this another shot. And we ended up watching the whole thing, and I was wrong. Like it's clearly made by people who love aggressive music.
Good. And
it's still like kind of it's a little saccharine for what it is, even though it's like kind of raunchy. But it's like a feel good story about these kids coming together or whatever, just doing plain metal. But
can I make a comment about Rage Against the Machine real quick?
No, it's a love letter to the genre, and it was a good time, and I recommend it. Just go in with not super high expectations.
Rage Against the Machine was better before they went political.
You look like the kind of guy that would say that. Mike's wearing a work polo right now.
I am. Oh man, fucking idiots.
That's it for me.
All right, let's get into the 2019 one. So it's the classic Dumbo story that we all know and love, except Colin Farrell is a war vet missing an arm.
Yeah.
Who just wants to be part of the circus, but Danny DeVito is like, nah, man. I'm very ableist, and there's no job that you can do in the circus as a one-armed freak. Get out of here. Put your kids to work. I'm all about child labor. Your daughter wants to be a scientist. Women can't be scientists. Get her to work. And then
to be fair, the dad doesn't think women can be scientists either.
That's true. But then Mrs. Jumbo has a sweet little baby, little Jumbo Jr., and has massively big ears, but they figure out pretty early in this movie that Dumbo can fly, and they just need to figure out how to harness that and get Dumbo to have the confidence to fly so they can milk this poor baby elephant to death and get money. And then Michael Keaton shows up and is like, hey, you got a flying elephant? I've got like a Vegas-style kind of hotel with an amusement park, and we need an act. Why don't you come in, and I'm going to take advantage of you guys the way you guys take advantage of the baby elephant. And then he burns down the park because of hubris, and then Danny DeVito goes, hey, maybe using animals is not a good idea, and so he creates an animal-free circus at the end, and everybody learns their lessons.
Yeah, it was delightful. I really liked this movie.
I'm glad you liked it, because I didn't care about it at all.
Oh, did we mention that it's directed by Tim Burton?
No, we didn't, but it's definitely directed by Tim Burton.
Yeah.
The costume designer went out of her way. She said, I refuse to have anything that's black and white striped in this because Burton does it in everything. So she made sure not to have anything that was black and white in this movie.
Funny. That's cool. Which is kind of, she's giving herself a challenge because it's a circus. It'd be very easy to do.
Yeah. Like, especially back in, 1921, you would have had a lot of clowns that just like the black and white pinstripes kind of stuff. But yeah, good for her.
I don't understand why the ringmaster, played by Danny DeVito, was disappointed that he had an elephant that was the only elephant that looked like that in the world.
Yeah, like, I had the exact same note.
Thing?
Yeah, it would. And also, like, one of the notes I have is like, he's like, okay, I paid a lot of money for this, so I still need to put the elephant in the show, but we're gonna, pin its ears back and put a little baby bonnet on it, and no one's gonna see anything with the freaky ears. And then, of course, Dumbo sneezes and the bonnet comes off, and everyone starts making fun of, like, that's a fake elephant. Look at the ears. And it's like, okay, it's just an elephant with very long ears. How many in 1921? How many elephants has this fucker actually seen?
Yeah, the hate that is elicited from the crowd is kind of silly to me. Like, you went to a circus and you're seeing something interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense how pissed people get.
I'm on board
this.
for the ride. It's fine, but that felt weird.
Yeah, it definitely was weird.
Let's back up a little bit though. I really appreciated that. I think Colin Farrell shows up within 5 minutes, right?
Yeah, he's
Within 10 for sure.
Pretty much the opening act.
Yeah, and like the moment he appears on screen, you see that he's in his military uniform and he's missing an arm. And watching it hot off the end of the last one, where we didn't really mention this, but Dumbo literally becomes the mascot for like warplanes heading into, I guess, World War One. That's why I was joking about him being an arm of the military-industrial complex. So coming from that to see this soldier that's missing an arm, it's like, look at the fucking the consequences of war, and he was not proud about it. Somebody called him captain, and he was like, "My name's fine. You don't have to say captain."
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. I really appreciated that. I liked having that right up front.
I did find it odd that like all the carnies, which traditionally in movies and television they're presented as like freaks and whatnot, and it seemed so odd that they were all off put by a man with a missing arm. Like, surely working with bears and dangerous animals and trapeze acts and all this dangerous stuff, they've been around somebody who's missing a limb.
Danny DeVito's running like a very Hollywood circus. Everyone there was kind of modelly looking too.
Yeah, I mean that's just 2019 movie making, but this movie, I don't know how I really want to talk about this one, because like it's essentially the plot of the first Dumbo early on, with minus the crows, and like there's a little mouse in it that's like, oh yeah, Dumbo likes little mice. You see a little mouse in a red kind of outfit as a nod to Timothy in the previous movie, but then it has like this third act that doesn't exist in the previous one, where they go to this like amusement park attraction place, and that's
it's essentially
almost
Disneyland.
Yeah, but it is essentially Disneyland. It's interesting that they basically made this movie as both like a remake and a sequel,
and it's also kind of a satirization of Disney.
Yeah, that is interesting that kind of went that way, because you have Michael Keaton plays like a evil Walt Disney-esque kind of person making this theme park, and
the like theme park cops that they have that are like, oh, we got to get this elephant, are dressed in like kind of Nazi-ish garb too. Like they've got the little hats and like long leather-looking overcoats.
Yeah, you know what I expected once they brought in this like Disney theme park element? I expected there to be like a nod to the ride, because there's a point where they're trying to get it where Colette, the trapeze artist played by Ava Green, to ride the elephant, and then the kids ride the elephant at some point. I thought it was going to go super dark and have it like him set up like they think he's going to get a show, but he's actually a ride, like an amusement attraction, and kids get to ride it. I thought it was going to be like a nod to the actual Disney park ride where he's on like a chain or something around a pole or something like that. And I thought that would have been a really interesting move to make like a Dumbo ride in the Dumbo movie.
Yeah. I liked seeing Rufus, the mean carny, get crushed. That was cool.
Yeah, he had that coming.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
For a minute, I thought like the Rufus character was going to be a bigger deal. Like maybe he was sent in to like sabotage stuff, and nope.
Well, that was another thing I really appreciate about this movie, is that it had, I guess it kind of has two halves, right? Like right in the middle is when they go to the Keaton thing, and it kind of feels like it's like a sequel to itself. Like it tells one story, then it kind of tells another story. And in my opinion, they work pretty well together. It's a nice little transition. And I really like that, you kind of mentioned this, but once Keaton shows up, who, by the way, is playing like Fish Odor from Bob's Burgers, like he's straight up doing that character.
Yeah, pretty much.
Once you get the arc with Keaton, though, it flips the Danny DeVito thing on its head, where now he's experiencing what he's doing to his employees and his animals, and it makes him grow a little conscience. It's kind of nice, and he gets a little resolution at the end.
No, I did like that. I like the message at the end of the movie. It just got, I don't know, I didn't really like the second act so much, because or I guess the third act, the final act, like when they get to the Keaton Disneyland, Keaton immediately fires all the circus people, and like what convinced Danny DeVito to sign with him was like, oh, my circus is going to be one of the acts of featuring Dumbo, and all my workers who I treat like family are going to have a place to live. And then they find out that Mrs. Jumbo is going to get euthanized, so all the circus people just like, oh yeah, we're going to use our unique talents to break in and get her out. And then it's like, they kind of do that. I didn't feel like that was done super well. It was fine. But then like Michael Keaton is trying to stop them from getting the elephants out, so he starts like pulling all the mechanisms. He starts a fire and like burns down, like it's his hubris, burns down his entire park. And Alan Arkin is like, fuck you, man. I'm just gonna go invest in Danny DeVito now. And then you get, Dumbo rescues the family. But that just escalated so quickly. I found it really unbelievable. Like I kind of glazed over the last like 15 minutes of the movie.
It's funny. I don't have a problem with Keaton, like you said, having his hubris get the best of him and destroying his own park. It's a little unbelievable, but it's a kids movie and whatever. It looked good, and the core of that decision like makes sense that guy would destroy himself. You know what I mean? Take himself down.
Right.
I think my issue with that happening is that his fall because of hubris was so on the nose, and Colette, Ava Green's transition from bad guy, how she's kind of introduced to being a good guy at the end, was so abrupt. Like in one scene she's like playing all cold and she's like, oh, I have to ride this elephant, I'm putting off bad vibes. And then in the next scene, she's like, oh, I love this guy. This guy's so cute. Me and this elephant, we're the same. And I feel like there could have just been like one moment there where she's like, hey man, you and me, we're not so different, are we?
Yeah, I think there should have been like a series of rehearsals. Like I think a perfect example, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie The Cutting Edge. That's a figure skating movie.
No.
It's
I've seen Blades of Glory.
Movie. Blades of Glory. That's another, it's essentially a male version of The Cutting Edge. But they have to work together, and you see them struggling and getting better, and then they start to recognize, you said, oh, we're not so different.
Yeah, and that's
we both have struggled with this. That would have been a really great message. And then it's like and then it appears that her and Colin Farrell are in a relationship at the end of the movie, and that doesn't really.
I'm your mom now.
Yeah, it's like there's no, like, it's obvious, but it would have been nice if like her and Colin Farrell kind of worked together to go, hey, Michael Keaton's really rushing this, and it seems like he's not 100% up to OSHA standards. Like, we should work together, and, between my kids who have this relationship with Dumbo already, and you, like, let's work together and become, like, a unit that looks out for each other, and we're going to make this show a success. But it's just like, they have, like, the one rehearsal, and then they do the actual show. The show goes bad, and then it's just like, oh, yeah, everyone's on the same team now. Like, that.
Yeah, it feels like some stuff ended up on the cutting room floor there.
Yeah, it would have had to have been. I can't see any way around that.
It didn't ruin the movie for me by any means, but
yeah, I don't know. I just felt nothing for this movie. I didn't hate it. Like, there was never a point where I'm like, good God, is this going to end? But
it was nice seeing the a cameo from the singer of Panic at the Disco as the elephant trader.
Oh, was Brandon Urie in this?
No, it's just a guy with eyeliner and a hat.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's like, that would have been pretty funny because he did a lot of like, that would have been a pretty good reference if they did put him in there.
I don't know. Eva Green, by the way, I think was had a lot of great moments. I think she was just underwritten.
She was good.
But
yeah,
I enjoyed her in this. I thought Keaton was great. I liked him dropping his accent when he wasn't like putting on a show for people.
Yeah, Keaton's great and everything. Like, I'm glad we've kind of had a
Keaton-assance
after. Yeah, like he never really went away. Like, he was, in things here and there. But like, once he did The Founder and Spider-Man Homecoming, like, he's just been in a lot of things, and he knocks everything out of the park. Like, he's always been incredible. Yeah. But he's just had a lot of moments to shine lately.
It was also really cool to see a reunion between Danny DeVito, Michael Keaton, clowns, and a lady that flies through the air.
Yeah. Well, Danny DeVito actually said in an interview when Tim Burton called him for this, he's like, oh, okay, we're gonna complete the circus trilogy, because he was kind of like a ringleader in Batman Returns. Then he was a ringleader in Big Fish, and now this. So he did he did a trilogy of circus movies with awesome. Tim Burton.
I had kind of written off Tim Burton because I hadn't I haven't really paid attention to what he's been doing lately. And this like kind of redeems him a little bit for me, to be honest.
Interesting. I haven't liked anything he's done since Big Fish.
I need
Big
to rewatch
Fish is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, I love Big Fish.
It's
I've not
so
seen it in
good.
a long time. What'd you think of Let's Get Ready for Dumbo?
I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I did laugh at that. Like there was a lot of things in this that I liked, like little moments, little lines. But like on the whole, it just didn't do anything for me. But
Did you notice the secretary is Mac's mom from Always
yeah,
Sunny?
from It's Always Sunny. Yeah, I thought that was hilarious. I'm wondering if Danny DeVito was like, "Hey, bring her in."
Yeah. Oh, dude, one of my favorite moments was the little pink elephants reference. Much shorter in this version, much less terrifying, but a little scary.
It still doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't need to though. Like Dumbo's just seeing something. It's fine. I think he was like Dumbo in that moment is seeing the full production and the size of the arena for the first time. So I think he's just sort of being mesmerized and also getting a little scared.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it makes more sense there than a child getting drunk on champagne with a mouse. I also really like I gotta find a gif of it. During that scene, they keep on cutting back to Dumbo and he's just like bobbing his head.
Yeah.
Jamming. Thought that was
One
so
of the other
funny.
things I thought was interesting was there was some like San Raimi-esque like shots in this movie where it's like Dumbo's POV and it like goes tunnel vision and
Yeah.
like blurry on
Oh, I
the
like
edges
that.
and everything, but it's like zooming around and like I thought that was a little odd, but
No, I liked it. I thought this movie was gorgeous actually.
it is a pretty movie. I also, to be fair, I thought it was really pretty from what I can see. I watched it on a hotel TV and
That
they
sucks.
clearly no, it sucks because they I'm a Marriott Bonvoy person. I love my Marriott Bonvoy points. I'm a gold elite person as of today. Feels great.
Congratulations.
But they use this like media box that they attach to it to, you know, do their content and like you can put Netflix on it and whatnot. But it actually locks and they give you a remote that works for that, so it locks all the settings for the TV.
Oh no.
But like clearly somebody fucked with this before because it's super dark. Like
Oh,
I
that
could
sucks.
barely see a lot. I had to sit like really close to it to really be able to see it.
I stayed at somebody's
So-
house a couple weeks ago and they had motion smoothing on and I was like, how do you live with this?
Blah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's gross. Ugh. Yeah, I hate it. So to be fair, I'm going to give an asterisk to this movie because I watched it. It took a bit to buffer because the internet here was not good. The display was super dark. I've been traveling a lot. I went from Indianapolis, getting stuck in Detroit for like 12 hours because I missed my flight by 1 minute. And then Indianapolis to Portland, Portland to Seattle, driving it. So I'm a little tired, and then having the issues with technology. Maybe I wasn't in the headspace to watch
Sure.
the movie at that time. But
Well,
Eh.
that's a good segue into maybe my final point about the movie. I think that Dumbo 41 is not super rewatchable. I think this one's super rewatchable. And this is like, if I had a kid, this is something I would show my kid and watch with them multiple times.
I definitely think that this is a good remake, though. Like
Yeah.
it pays homage to the original. It's respectful to the original. It updates it, gets rid of some of the problematic elements, which that's an easy, low-hanging fruit to do. Great special effects. Like the elephant was a little weird looking, but it makes sense because, you know, it's wasn't a photorealistic elephant, but you know, it's interesting, looked cool, very stylistic. The colors were, you know, vivid and everything. Added some story elements to it. So like on paper, this is exactly what a remake should be. I just don't think it connected with me, but I definitely think this is something that should have been remade. Like they're remaking all the other Disney movies, and I think this one is less dear to me than, you know, Aladdin and Lion King and Beauty and the Beast was, and I thoroughly enjoyed those remakes as well. So I think this is definitely something that should have happened.
Yeah. We should cover some more of those remakes too, because I have not really kept up on the Disney live action remakes.
I'd be fine to. We did Beauty and the Beast episode 3 of the pod, so I'd be fine with going back and doing some of those again.
Yeah, I'd love to watch Jungle Book and Lion King and I guess Aladdin. I'm less stoked for that, but
I liked the Aladdin, except for the third act.
the Will Smith genie still kind of puts me off.
You just have to recognize this. I do wish they went somewhere different. Like actually, there's a teaser for one of our episodes, and we joked about it at the time. This was before we realized how bad Louis C.K. was, but we kind of joked that it's like, I wanted them to go completely different than a Robin Williams larger than life kind of person. So I joked that Louis C.K. would have been a good Good
Louis,
choice to
Louis
play.
C.K. would be so weird so weird and funny as a genie if he wasn't a piece
Yeah.
of shit. You imagine him coming out and he's like, "Yeah, I fucking hate my kids. You guys like my kids?"
Yeah, that was pretty much what we did. Like, you want to be a prince? You want to be a prince? God, that's a stupid wish.
You know what princes do? I thought there was some really good dialogue and like wordplay in this version of Dumbo. Can I shoot a couple lines off at you?
Shoot a couple lines, man.
This is not dialogue; it's wordplay. But when Dumbo first comes out, he's in like a bassinet, and it says "Dear Baby Dumbo," Jumbo.
I did like this.
Yeah, and like the D gets knocked off, and the J gets knocked off, and the D spins around, so it says "Ear Baby Dumbo."
That was pretty
I
good.
thought that
I
was
liked
great. At some point, Danny DeVito just yells, "No booze near the baby." That's a little delivery too, but that was a nice moment. Danny DeVito is like pestered by this monkey for most of the movie, and when Keaton meets with him, the monkey is like in Danny DeVito's desk trying to get his drink, and Keaton goes, "Is that a monkey in your desk?" He goes, "Just for emergencies."
It's pretty good.
I got a couple.
I missed that joke.
Yeah, I'm saying they're good. And they're just like, they're tucked in there. At some point, Keaton says to Colin Farrell, "Your family's mine," and he's saying like, "Your family's my family," but also he says, "Your family's mine. I own you."
Yeah.
I thought that was sly as good. At some point, Ava Green is talking to Colin Farrell about being the girlfriend, about being a millionaire's girlfriend, and she says that it's not a real relationship, and she's just one of the many gems he wears to reflect the light back to him. And I was like,
Ooh,
fuck,
that's good.
yeah.
He got a little robot hand at the end.
So cool, man. Cowboy of the future. It was... Oh, by the way, did you notice there's this is another nice moment. The like butler / assistant to Keaton turns in his resignation the moment he hears that Keaton wants to euthanize Mrs. Jumbo. I thought that was good. I thought that was a nice moment. I also was like, oh, he's Alfred. That's kind of cool. Another little Batman reference.
Yeah, there we go.
So, he becomes the cowboy of the future, and the daughter like essentially invents movies, right?
Yeah, it seems like it.
They reference the first moving picture, which is like an 8-second loop, or maybe it's an 8-frame loop of a black man riding a horse, a black jockey riding a horse. And she does it with Ava Green riding Dumbo. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like he incorporated the beginning of film history, blah, blah, blah. But it's also a week after I saw Nope. And I'm not spoiling anything here, but sorry, I thought my cat was playing with the thing. That little clip of a black man riding a horse, and the fact that it's the first motion picture essentially is integral to the family in Nope, and the fact that it's a black person. So this movie came out 4 years ago. Like obviously he's not referencing that, but it was weird to watch them in succession.
That's pretty interesting. I just want to end with one other thing.
Yeah.
And then, so you have to suspend your disbelief when you're talking about a flying elephant. So let's say, in theory, his ears were big enough and strong enough to create the lift.
Sure.
You know what they don't talk about? Everyone talks about his ears. Nobody talks about his neck strength. His neck and head are holding up the entire body of an elephant.
Yeah, his body's not dangling in the air. It's perpendicular.
It's rigid. It's so like his
like
neck
the way
is
Superman
strong.
flies. Yeah.
That's got the strongest neck in the land.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just something I thought was interesting.
It's very interesting, Mike.
All right, I've got nothing else.
Yeah, man. I got a few other things, but maybe it's not worth it.
Nah, it's up to you, man. So I'll tell you what, either say something else or give us your plugs. I'll let you decide.
Really quick, this is just like Nightmare Alley. I love that this is a crappy little circus. At some point, Colin Farrell, I was wondering, where did that mustache come from? The Baby of Mine song is very nice. It's really sad that Dumbo doesn't even have visitation rights to his mom in this movie. It's kind of sadder than anything else. Every single flying scene worked really well for me. I don't remember what this is in reference to, but at some point I thought it'd be funny if Colin Farrell was like, I fought these guys. So if you can figure out where that belongs in the movie, you win a free year of Patreon.
It was probably your note that the guards were dressed like Nazis.
Maybe. Yeah. Danny DeVito at some point says, "You beautiful one-armed cowboy."
Yeah.
And there's also a guy in Future World, like the world of tomorrow, and it looks like Fallout. And the guy's in a dress, and the wife is in like a suit, and it's fucking cool.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, let's bring it home. Give us your plugs, bud.
I'm on Twitter at Palisci, Pulisci. You can follow along with the movies I'm watching on Letterboxd, also at Palisci. I post a lot of videos on my cat that apparently go viral on Instagram. That's Dyslexic, D-Y-S, Alex, I-C. I make film and TV related shirts on my Etsy. That's Burn the Scene Boutique. And if you use the code Remake Rewind, you can get some percentage off. I forget what it is.
It's 15.
It's good though. It's good.
It's good. No, this stuff's really good. And you guys can check out everything that's MDXpods related at MDXpods.com, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all at MDXpods. We're also on the YouTube, so check us out there. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/MDXpods, get early access and whatnot, bonus episodes. It's pretty rad. Helps keep the lights on because we pay for everything, the web hosting, the movies, everything. We don't steal anything. We're good podcasters.
Yeah, it's getting dark over here. We need the lights on.
Yeah. But yeah, thanks for listening, and see you next time.
Bye.